What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's RFG back at it today, and I'm here to go over this 13 astrology, also the basic principles, foundations, and symbols of alchemy. Okay. Before I get started, I want everybody to know and understand that the first step of basically learning true alchemy, you have to know and understand yourself, okay? You have to know yourself and you have to master yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Those are the first steps, okay, to mastering yourself. Okay, if you're capable of mastering yourself, you're gonna be way more capable of alchemy, okay, of performing certain techniques and certain activities where you're able to heal yourself or you're able to heal other people. Okay, that's called alchemy. And the first step of learning basic alchemy is, of course, a natal chart. This natal chart in particular, okay, this is a 13 sign natal chart. This is how all natal charts are supposed to be drawn up, okay, because there are 13 zodiac signs. When you look at a natal chart, this first house right here, okay, it rules your brain. It rules your face, your facial structure, your brain, and the mask you're gonna wear. First house represents the mask you're gonna wear when you first meet new people. Okay, that's what the first house is. Okay, and no matter what planet is in the first house is always going to naturally be ruled by Aries. So if you want to see somebody's Aries characteristics, you're going to look in their first house to see how much of an Aries they are, how much of a pioneer they are, how dominant and how assertive they are. Those are Aries characteristics. You'd be able to find that in their first house, okay? First house is also a fire house, which has to do with the spirit, okay? Second house has to do with somebody. It rules somebody's neck, their throat, and their voice box. So if you want to tell what kind of person or what kind of voice box, neck, and throat somebody's going to have and what kind of health they're going to have on that area of their body, you're going to look at the second house. Okay? You're going to look at the second house. Second house also rules material possessions that we possess in this life and our attitude towards those possessions. That's all seen in the second house. Okay? Second house is naturally ruled by Taurus. No matter what sign or what planet is in your second house, the second house is always going to be naturally ruled by Taurus. Okay? Also, the second house rules a person's food intake. So if you want to see how much food or how much nutrition somebody needs to consume on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that's all going to be shown in the second house, depending on what sign and what planets are there, okay? Yes, second house also rules your food intake and your metabolism as well. That's seen in the second house. The third house, okay, this is an air house. Also, the second house is an earth house. And what is earth? Material possessions, okay? So the second house is our opinion and our attitude and our feelings towards those earthly possessions, okay? That's why the second house is an earth house. Third house is an air house. The third house, no matter what planet or what sign is in it, the third house is always going to be naturally ruled by Gemini. The third house is always going to be naturally ruled by Gemini. Because what is the third house? The third house represents how good we communicate. How good are our communicating skills? The air represents communication, mental activity. The air represents the mind. Okay? Fire in alchemy and astrology represents spirit. Earth represents, earthly possessions and physical body. Air represents communication and mental capability. That's seen with air in alchemy and in astrology. Okay? So your third house is an air house. It's always going to be naturally ruled by Gemini, no matter what sign, no matter what planet is there. And the third house also, on our body, the third house rules our arms. It rules the arms, and it rules our lungs. It rules our arms and our lungs, and the part of our brain that has to do with communication. That's seen in the third house. The third house also rules the relationship that we have with our siblings, okay? The third house in our chart rules the energy around our siblings. The fourth house, the fourth house is a water house, so it has a lot to do with our emotions. And the fourth house, no matter what planet, no matter what sign is in your fourth house, the fourth house is always going to be naturally ruled by Cancer, because the fourth house is going to rule our natural Cancer characteristics. How good of a nurturer are we? How do we treat our children? How do we nurture people in need? How do we nurture people who need our help? How do we nurture people in our family? Okay, our children, how do we nurture them? That's going to be seen in our fourth house. Okay, for the mothers out there, your motherly instincts are going to be shown by wherever the moon is placed in your chart and what's going to be placed in your fourth house. That's going to indicate how you go about nurturing people, and especially your children. The fourth house is, of course, naturally ruled by Cancer, and it has to do with our emotions. It has to do with how good our memory is, how good we recognize the past. It also rules the genetics that we get passed on from our parents. It rules all of our bodily fluids. The fourth house rules all of our bodily fluids, and in men, it rules the men's stomach. And in women, in the fourth house in a woman's chart is going to show the health of her womb, the health of her ovaries, the health of her cervix, all of her sexual organs, most of the female sexual reproductive organs. The health of those is going to be shown in her fourth house and wherever her moon is placed in the chart. Okay? Also, the fourth house rules our home life. The fourth house rules our home life and how the connection is between us and our mother figure. Okay? So if we have a good relationship with our mother, if we have a bad relationship with our mother, that's going to depend on wherever the moon is located in the chart and whatever is placed in the fourth house, okay, in our chart. Also, the fourth house rules our life from 6 to 12, okay? Third house rules our life, I'd say 5 to 12. Or, no, this fourth house would be 6 to 12. The third house would only be 3 to 6. The third house would be ages 3 to 6, that time frame in your life. The second house rules your life, the period of your life when you were a toddler, okay? When you were in between 1 and 2 years old. And the first house also rules your birth. You see what I'm saying? When you first came into this dimension, when you first came into this earth, it rules the energy around the environment you were born. That's what the first house is. Okay? Fifth house here is a fire house. Fifth house here is a fire house. So it has to do with our spirit. Okay? Fourth house has to do with our emotions. Third house has to do with our communication ability. That's why it's ruled by the air. Fifth house is ruled by fire because it has to do with our spirit. And the fifth, no matter what planet or sign is in the fifth house is always going to be ruled by Leo. The fifth house is always going to be ruled naturally by Leo. If you want to see somebody's ego, what kind of ego, what kind of self-confidence, what kind of leadership characteristics somebody holds, you're going to look at what planets are in their fifth house, and then you're going to look wherever the sun is located in their chart, okay? Because the fifth house and the sun rule somebody's vitality, rule somebody's ego, rule somebody's leadership characteristics, and also rules their aura. Their overall aura is seen, by the fifth house and the sun, wherever the sun is located in the chart. Also, fifth house rules your life from 13 to 19, and it all as far as the body, the fifth house rules your heart. It rules the health of your heart chakra. It rules your spine. And in men, the fifth house rules a man's sperm count. A man's sperm count. That's seen in the fifth house. Also, how many one-night stands, you see what I'm saying? Somebody's capable of having basically fun activities, partying, gambling, sports, how naturally athletic somebody is. That's going to be seen in the fifth house because it's all Leo characteristics. All Leo characteristics are seen in the fifth house and wherever the sun is located in the chart. Also, the fifth house rules our children and how much children we're going to have in this lifetime. That's going to be seen in the fifth house. So wherever the sun is located in the chart and whatever placements you have in the fifth house is going to affect the energy around your children. And it's also going to affect your life from 13 to 19 and your athletic ability, how you feel about gambling, how you feel about sports, how you feel about fun activities. Okay. Also how you feel about being a form of an entertainer. That's all seen by the sun and the fifth house. Also, the sixth house is an earth house. Okay. So no matter what sign, no matter what planet is in the sixth house is always going to be naturally ruled by Virgo. It's always going to be naturally ruled by Virgo. So what is so significant about the sixth house? Sixth house rules our ability to analyze. It rules our ability to be able to analyze, to be able to criticize certain topics, certain subjects, or certain individuals. Also, it also rules what kind of service we're going to be to our community. That's seen in the sixth house. So basically somebody's 9-to-5 job, work life, that's going to be seen in the sixth house. The sixth house is also going to rule a person's life from 20 to 26. It's also going to impact a person's life from ages 20 to 26. Okay? So the sixth house basically rules the financial gain and the financial income and the reward we're going to get for being a service to our community. Okay? And the closest thing to that is the 9-to-5 job that we carry in this society. So the sixth house rules the energy, okay, around our everyday 9-to-5 job. Whatever it is we do to try to be a service to the community, that's going to be seen in the sixth house. Also, the part of the body that the sixth house rules is the intestines, okay? The intestinal tract and the intestines. That's going to be seen. The health of that is going to be seen in the sixth house, okay? So yeah, that's about sums up the sixth house. It's an earth house because it has to do what kind of material gain we're going to get, okay, from being a service to our everyday community. Okay, that's why it's an earth house. Seventh house is the house of serious partnerships, serious relationships, okay? And serious commitments. Okay, serious commitments to our quote unquote loved ones and our spouse. That's going to be seen in the 7th house, okay? So no matter what planet, no matter what sign is in the 7th house, the 7th house is always going to be naturally ruled by Libra. It's always going to be naturally ruled by Libra, okay? The 7th house is going to show how the person goes about trying to attract the opposite sex, okay? How to attract a mate. That's going to be shown in their 7th house, okay? So wherever the person has their Venus placed in the chart, and whatever planet or sign is in the 7th house is going to impact how the person goes about trying to attract, okay, a mate, okay? So if a person is having trouble in this area with their spouse, it's basically more than likely you're going to see either a water or an earth sign. You're going to see a water or an earth sign in the 7th house, or you're going to see a planet that's ruled by water or earth in the 7th house, because the 7th house is naturally ruled by air. The 7th house is naturally ruled by air. So most signs and planets that are air signs and planets would be most comfortable in this house. Also, fire planets and fire signs are perfect, somewhat perfect for the 7th house as well, because fire and air, okay, help each other out. So the people with fire and air planets and fire and air signs in their 7th house, those are the people who get a lot of spouses trying to be in relationships with them. They get a lot of, people trying to be committed to them, okay, naturally, because of those placements in their 7th house, okay? This was all predestined for us before our souls even entered our mother's womb. Okay, this is how deep this is, ladies and gentlemen. The 8th house is a water house. Oh, also, the 7th house rules the kidneys. The 7th house rules the kidneys and the buttocks. Yep, the buttocks muscles and the kidneys. That is ruled by the 7th house. Okay? Also, the 8th house. The 8th house is a water house. So, no matter what planet or sign is in the 8th house, the 8th house is always going to be naturally ruled by Scorpio. Okay? The 8th house is always going to be naturally ruled by Scorpio. So if you want to see somebody's Scorpio characteristics, you look at wherever Pluto is placed in the chart, and then you look at what's placed in their 8th house. Okay? If you want to see how much Scorpio characteristics somebody has, you look at wherever Pluto is placed in the chart, and you look at what signs and planets are in the 8th house. Okay? 8th house rules our interest in hidden knowledge. Okay? Hidden wisdom. Things that are hidden. It rules our interest in discovering things that are hidden, things that are unseen. Occult wisdom, occult knowledge. Our interest in that subject is seen in the 8th house. Also, our ability to bounce back from tragic life situations is seen in the 8th house. Also, how we handle life-changing situations for the better. It's basically how we deal with life-transforming situations. That's seen in the 8th house. Okay? Also, the 8th house rules how we view sex. How we view sex for sex sake and our overall sex drive. Okay? The sex drive is seen in the 8th house. The sex drive is seen in the 8th house, the 1st house, and the 5th house. Houses 1, 5, and 8, as well as the placements of the Sun, Pluto, and Mars, have to do with the individual sex drive. So once again, I know everybody's gonna laugh when they hear this, but I guess if you want to find out how sexual somebody is, or how addicted to sex someone is, or how much of a quote unquote freak someone is, you're gonna look at the placements in their 1st house, their 5th house, and their 8th house. And then on top of that, you're gonna see where their Sun is located, where their Mars is located, and where their Pluto is located in the chart. Okay? So yeah, that basically is what the 8th house represents. It's our natural Scorpio characteristics. It's how we deal with dramatic life changes, life transformation, how we deal with that, how interested we are in occult subjects, occult knowledge, how we view things that are hidden from the public. It also rules our magnetic aura, and it rules our opinion towards sex, our views towards sexual energy and how high the sex drive is. Okay. Also, the bodily part of the 8th house that it rules is the private part, is the sexual organs. Okay. So the energy around someone's sexual organs, the energy around someone's root chakra, the power of that is going to be seen in their 8th house and wherever Pluto is placed in the chart. Also, the 7th house rules a person's life from 26 to 32, and the 8th house rules somebody's life from 32 to 38. Okay, so on and so forth. The 9th house, the real 9th house is the serpent bearer house, okay? The real 9th house is the serpent bearer house. And this basically is nothing but a somewhat equal to the 8th house, okay? And the 13th house. It's somewhat a mixture of Scorpio traits and Piscean traits of somebody's intuition, okay? That's seen in the real 9th house, which is the house of Ophiuchus. And that is another water sign. Yes, the serpent bearer is another water sign. So it ties into our emotions and our intuition, okay? That's seen in the water houses. If you want to see how spiritual somebody is and how intuitive somebody is, you look at their fire houses, what they have in their fire houses and what they have in their earth houses, okay? So the 9th house, the real one, which is ruled by Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, that has to do with our overall intuition. That has to do with our ability and our connection to things that are hidden and spiritual knowledge. Also, it has to do with our overall rebellious nature, okay? Because in most ancient civilizations, most of the serpents were known as rebellious creatures, a symbol of rebellion and wisdom, okay? People with planets in the real 9th house of the serpent bearer are natural wisdom seekers, period. These people with placements in this house basically find people's secrets out without even trying. It just comes to them naturally. It has to do with their aura because of their placements in this house. Also, the part of the body that rules the serpent bearer house is the adrenaline glands. It rules the adrenaline glands, okay, that are on top of the kidneys, okay? 10th house, the real 10th house is supposed to be ruled by Sagittarius, okay? So, this is a fire house, and it has to do with our attitude towards traveling, our attitude towards higher learning, facilities of higher learning, facilities that have to do with spiritual enlightenment or higher learning. So spiritual temples, churches, synagogues, things of that nature. You see what I'm saying? Even pyramids, okay? And our connection to those facilities is seen in the Sagittarius house of the 10th house, okay? Which would be the 9th house in a 12 house chart. It'd be the 9th house. Okay, it's the house of our Sagittarius characteristics. It has to do with our ability to travel, our attitude towards traveling, meeting new people, people of different cultures, learning higher knowledge, learning higher spiritual wisdom, and how much of a liberal mind we have. Okay, usually people with good placements in this house, they're very liberal minded, and they accept people for who they are, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, or age. Okay, and they're very, very optimistic, fun-loving, happy-go-lucky people with good placements in their house of Sagittarius. Okay, the original 11th house was an Earth house ruled by Capricorn, naturally ruled by Capricorn. Okay, so it's an Earth house, and it has to do with our public recognition, our career life, our public recognition, our overall goals in this lifetime, and how the public is going to view us in this lifetime. Okay, it's also going to rule money earned during our career life. That's all going to be seen in the 11th house that is naturally ruled by Capricorn. Okay, it rules the Capricorn part of our life, the 11th house, our goals, our career life. You know, how determined we are to achieve our goals. The 11th house also rules the connection we have with our father figure. If we have a good or bad connection with our father figure, that's going to be seen in the 11th house. Okay, that's going to be seen in the 11th house, because the 11th house is the opposite of the 4th house, Cancer. You see, Cancer is the polar opposite of Capricorn. So when you look at somebody's connection they have with their mother figure, you look at their 4th house. When you look at the connection they have with their father figure, you look at the 11th house. Okay? Which would be the 10th house in a 12 house chart, but this is a 13 house chart, how it's supposed to be. Okay, the house that is naturally ruled by Capricorn is supposed to be the 11th house. 11, El. That prefix El means Saturn, and Saturn is ruled by Capricorn. Okay, number 11 ruled by Capricorn. 12, the 12th house. Okay, and of course the 11th house is an Earth house, because it has to do with financial and material gain during our career life. 12th house is an air house, and it's naturally ruled by Aquarius. Okay, and it is an air house, so it has to do with forms of communication. What kind of forms of communication does the 12th house rule? Well, the 12th house has to do with our friend network circle. What kind of friends we are going to attract in our circle in this lifetime. That is going to be seen in our 12th house, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever the planet Uranus is located on the chart, and whatever signs and planets are in the 12th house are going to affect a person's friend circle, the energy around their friends, and it's also going to impact their ability to network. Okay? How strong and how powerful are the people you know? How strong and powerful are they in society? How spiritually powerful are they? How mentally powerful are they? That's going to be seen in the 12th house. The 12th house also rules a form of income that we're going to acquire after our careers. 11th house is money earned during the career. 12th house is income and revenue earned after the career. Okay, so basically our retirement, what we get after we are done working. That is this period of life usually, and that is seen in the 12th house. Okay, the 12th house also rules, you know what I'm saying, our desire, our overall desires in this life, just like the 11th house, just like the 8th house. But the desires can either be material or spiritual, depending on the individual. Okay. Also, the 12th house is an air house. Air represents the mental. Air represents the mental, right? Water represents emotional. Earth represents physical, okay, and financial. Fire represents spiritual, okay? Water represents emotional, but air represents mental. So the 12th house is an air mental house. Ladies and gentlemen, the 12th house rules a person's intelligence level. Let me repeat. The 12th house rules the brain's ability to store information. So if you want to go into somebody's chart and look at their chart and see how much information their brain is capable of storing, okay, and how intelligent they are, it is going to be shown by wherever Uranus is placed in their chart and what kind of planetary placements they have in the 12th house. But usually you would pull up a 12 house chart. So it would be the 11th house, okay, that I'm talking about. But this is a 13 chart I'm talking about. So it's the 12th house, okay? That's going to show the person's level of overall intelligence, okay? Which has to do with as far as logical scientific intelligence that the brain can store. That's going to be seen in this house. That's ruled by Aquarius. Also, last but not least, the 13th house. The 13th house, okay, is basically our connection from this dimension to the next. It's our connection, okay? The 13th house is our overall connection to the afterlife and to the spirits in the higher realms, okay? It is how we view subjects pertaining to death. It's how we view those subjects. It is our overall level of intuition, okay? The 13th house is all these water houses combined. It's the 4th house, it's the 8th house, it's the 9th house combined, seen in the 13th house. That's naturally ruled by Pisces. So a person's Pisces characteristics and intuition are going to be seen in their 13th house. So we're basically going to see how psychic somebody is in their 13th